Booleans can really help you model things that would be hard to make otherwise, but they do come with a certain drawback. Now I'm using max 8 for this, and max 9 Booleans have been significantly changed, and you can clean up the Boolean cut much easier. But if you're using 9, play around with that new feature. It's not hard to use, but if you're using 7 or 8, you're going to need to clean up the Booleans. A lot of people stay away from the Booleans because they just don't like the errors that Booleans make, but they're really not too hard to clean up if you know what you're playing around with. I've got two sets of cylinders here, and I'm going to Boolean this first one and this one to show you the differences in what you can get Boolean the same objects. In this case, I have a cylinder with 5 height sections getting Booleaned or cut by a cylinder with 5 other height sections. And if I go here to Boolean, we'll pick our operand B, and you can see what it leaves behind. It kind of scars the object with those segments that were in the original piece. And if I do this one over here, you can see that I get the same cut, really. I'm not really gaining too much by all these segments, but this one over here is going to be much easier to clean up. And we're going to zoom into this particular one here. I'm going to isolate this, and we'll zoom in. And what we're looking at here, as we kind of search around, you can see that some of these edges, if I can get a good angle here on this resolution, some of these edges right here don't have connecting pieces to them or solid edges. It's kind of hard to see there. I've got a, with that Boolean on it, I'm going to jump over here and collapse this to edit poly so we can see this a little better. And I can right click on this, go down to properties and say edges only, turn that off, and you can see all of these diagonal edges that are coming in here. And if we zoom in really close, you can really see how that Boolean's kind of chewed up this side piece here, and we've got all sorts of diagonal lines, thin little polygons are made with it. And if I was to try and bevel this piece, moving it around a lot, I'm trying to get a better view of it. Those edges aren't rendering real good right now. But if I grab one of these edges here, and I'm going to try and get a hold of this as a loop, and I don't think I'm going to be able to. No, it's not going to let me. But if I was to try and get a hold of all of these and do something like a chamfer to them, you can see it's kind of hard to get a hold of them. They're really not going to be cleaned up easily. What I'd probably have to do is get in here with my vertices and target weld a lot of these together in order to clean it up. And that's a pain, but you can see you can clean them up. It doesn't really take forever to do it, but it's not the most fun thing in the world either. And if I was careful, I could clean this up so that I would get some sort of a rounded surface here. You get the idea. I could clean those up all the way around. But if we scoot over to my other piece here, we'll isolate this guy. You can see that I've got a much easier road to go here, in that most of my edges, if I turn off edges only, I've got a much easier way of cleaning these up. So I'm going to zoom in here. I'm going to convert this to an edit poly. Oh, one thing I did want to show you before I do that, I skipped a step here. Under my Boolean, never mind, it's not under my Boolean. I'm thinking of something else. Okay, so what I'm going to do under my vertices here is I'm first going to hit remove isolated vertices, and what that's going to do is take out any vertices that might be floating, and that'll get rid of them right off the bat. The next thing I'm going to do is do a weld threshold, and you can see I've got a lot of vertices here that are pretty close together. I started with 60, and I'm just going to bump this up until I can get rid of some of those. You can see I got rid of 8 of them right off the bat. And we're almost cleaned up. Now we're just going to search around here for any vertices that look like they need to go. Everything looks pretty good there. I think we're going to go with that. And the way we can check and see if this really worked is if I grab these edges here that are left from my Boolean cut. There we go. Looks alright. I'm going to turn off my edged faces there just so I can see what I'm doing a little bit more. And make sure we've got them all. And I can hit chamfer here. And if I can chamfer this all the way around, so that's a pretty clean cut there, then we've cleaned up our Boolean. There's really no problems. If we end up with this shooting off in a weird angle, then we've got too many vertices in the same spot, or we've got overlapping edges. But this one's nice and clean. I can bevel this, and we have ourselves a fairly clean Boolean here. And this is the part that most people don't like about Booleans, but Booleans aren't bad. It's just the people who make them are bad. So there's our Boolean, and that's how you can use Booleans to model with. So don't run away from the Booleans, but make sure you clean them up. You've got to weld those vertices, and you've really got to make the shapes you're Booleaning. I don't think that's a word, but that you're combining. You need to really pick those shapes carefully and watch those cross segments.